On this day in history, 26th of June, England, 1483. Edward IV is dead and no cat knows why. His 12-year-old son, Edward V, is next in line, but he never makes it to the throne because his uncle Richard has other plans. Within weeks of Edward's death, Richard has his nephew declared illegitimate. Both nephews, actually. During coronation preparation, the boys are officially placed in the Tower of London under the guise of protection, and they are never seen again. And on June 26, 1483, Richard III is crowned King of England. Quiet, convenient, suspicious. Richard's enemies didn't just call him a traitor, they called him a monster, literally. His political rivals and later Tudor propagandists spread stories that he was born feet first, with a mouthful of teeth, and with a full head of hair. Difficult labor meant that God was displeased. Teeth at birth meant the child would shed blood. A feet first delivery meant a life lived in opposition to nature. The thing is, this wasn't just gossip in medieval Europe. Birth omens in medieval Europe were taken seriously by everyone. Commoners, clergy, and the courts. These weren't superstitions people quietly whispered. They were used as political evidence. Richard only reigned for 2 years. He dies at the Battle of Bosworth Field in 1485, which is the final battle of the War of the Roses. He was the last English king to die in battle. His body is found in a parking lot in 2012. Yes, like really. It had been a friary until Henry VIII dissolved the monasteries, and the site was demolished, built over, and eventually paved into a parking lot, lost for 527 years. His spine was curved, scoliosis, not the monstrous deformities that his enemies described. But the myth had already done its work. Richard's enemies understood something that practitioners have always known. Narrative is power. Take John Rouse, a historian who praised Richard's fully commendable rule while he was still alive. In the moment Richard died at Bosworth and the Tudors took over, Rouse flipped completely. Suddenly Richard was the Antichrist, tainted from birth, a monster the earth had tried to reject. Same man, same historian, completely different story. Because the crown changed hands, and so did the narrative. Powerful men have always shaped the story around them, deciding what gets seen, what gets buried, and what gets labeled conspiracy until it isn't. Another example, the Catholic Church spent decades calling abuse survivors liars. The institution managed the narrative, controlled the story, until the Boston Globe pulled it into the light in 2002. Another example, Epstein's network operated in plain sight for years. Documented, connected, protected, called a conspiracy theory by the people it implicated, until it wasn't. Richard III's enemies weaponized myth to take him down. Some people weaponized it to stay standing. The playbook never changes. So did Richard III make a deal with dark forces to take the throne? Probably not. But his enemies made sure you'd always wonder. Sometimes doubt and conspiracy are the most powerful weapons.